My high C48, Leo Koi's and KTK. Lucas on the flight, causing turbulence, causing waves on our way to the confluence. New voice for the fans, from the pitch to the stands. My high looks than the South Bank lads. Leo Koi's and a homie Krash. Hold up, what's this? A raft on the water to the confluence. Yeah. It's chance, I'm bound to rounds, I love the head to the wars. If it's this, you're off the C38. This time is now. Locals on the jump to hold it down. Like the stream and do 5 stars. The mile high hot spur and crash the car.
Yes, you filthy animals. Welcome back to the Confluence. My name is Leo Kois. I'm the Mile High Hotspur, and I am joined by my homie. Do I need to remind you he's a triple certified OG in this Rapids? Yeah, there you go. Pop the collar. Let him know what's up, Krash. My homie KTK, the driver of the Daddy Shuttle, and of course, the co-host of this here podcast. Krash, we were just kind of talking behind the scenes. Bro, it feels like a half a season has went by since the last time you and I were in front of each other chatting it up. You got the drink pretty fresh over there, my homie. It's been a long time since we've seen each other. Krash, how are you doing, my homie? How have you been? Say what's up to the homies. Get us going with this episode, my homie. What's up, dude?
Yeah, man, it's been good. It's summer is in full effect. My soccer season is for coaching is officially over, which is nice with a nice break, but it never goes too far. As I mentioned to you today, I still am doing some summer training with my daughter and a friend of hers. So some one-on-one work with them just to get through the summer, but it's just once a week, so that's fun. I enjoy that and getting out, and of course, you know, as an elder statesman, I guess you could say at this point, I have to warm up just like they do, because last week during training, I sent Leo a picture of what I was doing, and it was me holed up on the couch with crutches and a compression bandage on my calf because I didn't warm up, and I went to make a move, and I felt my calf literally pop, and I was down for the count. Luckily, it was nothing serious. I'm back up on my feet. It was just a couple days of staying off of it and hobbled around on a crutch. But I'm back to walking, back to some light duty training, so I can move around and get around. But definitely was a little bit of a scare. I know my wife she was worried. I was like, "Are you gonna have to go to the hospital?" Luckily, it was nothing major. So I'm back at it. Get healed up soon enough with a couple weeks off of the major training. But so, yeah, man, it's good. It's World Cup Day, so it's a great day for soccer fans across the world. We had Mexico this afternoon, and we both currently have the Korea Czech game on in the background. So for those who are watching, we're just about at halftime with that when we're recording this. So it's a great day, man. I can't complain.
Yeah, it's a good day, bro. Good day for footy fans. Good day for footy sickos, and a perfect time to be joining up with you, bro. Krash, if you don't mind, I'm going to take a couple of minutes, hopefully not too long, but you actually put out, and I want to add some context. June is we are in men's mental health awareness month, and you actually put out a very good article, Krash. And I just want to say thank you for sharing that. You sent it to me because I asked where I could see it at, and it was on X. If you guys don't follow either myself or Krash, definitely head over to at the Daddy Shuttle. Great little piece that you wrote there, homie. And I want to caveat, that and just say, homies, it's okay to fill in your feels sometimes. It's definitely okay to it's better, I guess I should say, to cry on your homie's shoulder than to have your homies carry you over their shoulder, if that makes any sense. Yeah. A lot of times, we don't want to speak about shit that's bothering us because whatever factors the machismo, we just bury it below, or we maybe don't have anybody to talk to. it's okay to talk to somebody, Krash, right? It's okay
Mhm.
to let your feelings be known. It's okay to share how you feel because you are not alone. And I just want to extend, my you can always reach out to me, Leo Coys 1882 on Instagram. We even have Confluence emails. Krash, you have to forgive me, but I don't know them off the top of our head. But you guys could get in touch with us at theconfluencepod.com. However it is, if you ever feeling like you just want to chat, you know what I mean? Our we're always on the other end of the line, so don't get that wrong. Krash, you and I sometimes have chats that go way further than football, and I could say for me it's beneficial to have a homie that I'm able to do that to on the other end. And if you're listening to this, if you're hearing this, if you're catching this, if you're watching this, you're not alone, my homie. Like I said, I would much rather have you crying on my shoulder than have you carried on my shoulder. And don't forget that you're very important to your family. You're very important to the people that love you, and you're very important to your community. Whether or not you feel like it, my homie, you're probably just having a bad day. For every rainy day, there's a sunny day to come. And you've got this. You got this, my homie. Krash, I just wanted to get that out of the way because it doesn't go spoken of too often, Krash. And first of all, like I said, I wanted to big you up for putting out that piece, and also your Instagram post where you kind of shared, how you're doing the ice plunges, which I want to try, homie. I want to see where I can do something like that and do that because I hear it does wonders for just the mental, the body, and just getting the day going off on the right foot. So big yourself up, Krash, and thank you for that, homie.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I put that out. I was actually a group of at work. We were talking about it, and I brought it up as a topic of that it was Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and most of the group didn't even know that it existed. And so they asked me to write an article just to share with our company, and I decided it was worth sharing with everyone, just because, like you said, we don't always extend our feelings beyond ourselves. We don't usually bring them up because we're afraid that it's going to put too much weight on somebody else, or we're afraid of what somebody might think, or maybe we're carrying a bunch of shame alongside of it. And so we hide those feelings, and so I just wanted to share, at least from my perspective and the stuff that I have gone through in my past, and the challenges I've had, and if that just helps anybody, you know, realize they're not always alone, or that maybe somebody else feels similarly, or has gone through some tough times that they might be able to relate to. I just wanted to make sure that they didn't feel alone, and I think, like you mentioned, right? It's like rainy days are going to happen, and those challenging days, those dark days are going to happen. But the key of it is, remember that I'm there. I'll stand in the rain with you. I will be in the dark. And I think the thing that we forget is that there are people around us all over the place. We just we struggle to see them. So it was my opportunity to share and try to help others as best I can, and raise the awareness, because I've gone through some really big challenges, and I still deal with my own challenges. So I just wanted to make sure that somebody else out there could feel some support if they needed it. So I guess, like you said, I'm available. You can find me on Instagram, on X. I'm all over the place, easy to find. So if you ever need anything, just need somebody to talk to, need somebody to bounce an idea off of, or just want to hang out and grab a beer because you don't have anybody else to go to, just give me a shout. I would much rather um, get to know you more, and realize that you're probably a pretty amazing person, because we all have unique things inside of us that make us pretty amazing. And so I'd much rather hear from you and help you through it, and just have that conversation and get to know you better than hear something else. So just know we're around. We're here to help, and this community is very important to me. And so if that can help anybody in this community get to the next day, that's what I want.
Big up. I appreciate that, Crash. Big up to everybody tuning in. Big up to the C38, the Mile High Locos, of course, and the homies from the Culeros. Big everybody up. And Yeah, Krash. So let's get proceeding with the proceedings this evening, my homie. Like we said, we haven't been able to do a pod for this 2 weeks now, so we're getting into it, and we've had some stuff that's popped up. A couple of pods ago, we kind of talked about Zack Steffen and what was going on. We kind of, threw some speculations out there. It's since come out, we heard that he had the shoulder injury, but I think to both shoulders, got surgery. Krash. So we're out with Zach. We're out without Zack Steffen now for the foreseeable future, and I think the rest of the season. What do you know about the injury? What do you know about what's going on with Zach? What can you elaborate about the situation for us?
Yeah, so it sounds like it was an injury that's been around for a bit, that he's been dealing with, for a few months. And it looks like he got re-aggravated. I think it was at the beginning of May, I think is when he was out. When we kind of got that notice right before that Niko's getting the start. I forget which game it was. But yeah, so it sounded like, and kind of from what it looked like, he was trying to, make it to the World Cup game. He was trying to make it to the summer, was trying to make it to a point where, he could still be available. And it sounds like the injury was just too much. And it wasn't his shoulders. I think it affected his ability to raise his arms high and be able to move quickly. And that last aggravation really put him over the edge. So he sat out for the betterment of probably himself and the team, and went in to have surgery. I think the key of it it was successful surgery, from what I understand, and from his posts, but his recovery time is going to be anywhere from 5 to 6 months. So that's pretty much an end of season injury for him. As even if he did come back, that would be really into MLS Cup territory, or deep into playoffs. Um, you know, hoping we get that far, but then he still had to have to get to match fitness. So it really very well might be the last time we see Zack Steffen even in a Rapids jersey, because his contract is technically up at the end of the season.
Mm. Well, time will tell on this one, you sickos. We just have to wait and see. If you were to put money on it, Krash, have we seen the last of Zack Steffen in a Rapid shirt?
He's got a big hefty price tag on his name. And when you have somebody like Niko who stepped in and has filled a role and has played really, really well, I don't know. We might struggle to keep him on with the salary he's on. So I'm gonna say, although I enjoy Zach and I think he's a great person, I think the team might be better off finding another opportunity there. With a bit of a more realistic price tag for the performance.
Mm. You'd only have to, I mean, and I say this respectfully, you would only think that, just we've kind of seen, the blunders, and I'm even almost inclined to say a bit of a decline this last couple of seasons with Zack Steffen. So that hefty price tag nowadays should not be as hefty as maybe the average fan would think it to be, right? Just based off the displays and based off of performances, and now even double injuries to the shoulders, having to get surgery.
Yeah.
Damaged goods, respectfully. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Well, and there's always a potential. It is the end of the year. If in his contract, there's a potential they could renegotiate for a better rate. But you never know. We'll see how it turns out. I mean, he's a good keeper when he's on, and his inconsistencies has been his biggest challenge. So we'll see how it goes. Again, it's a long end of the season, and we'll see some adjustments there. But the biggest thing is I wish him the best in his recovery, and I hope he, maybe in his recovery he's able to, get his mind in a good place, and he can come back stronger. So we'll see how it turns out, and maybe we do get to see him stick around for another couple of years. So we'll see how it goes, but best of luck on his recovery for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, my homie. Going from one Rapid who is currently injured to a Rapid who unfortunately just kind of stays injured. And I'm talking about Connor Ronan. My homie, I rate Connor Ronan. I think I said this in a couple of podcasts previously. I feel like he adds a lot to the Rapids team. I think he's one of these midfield players who definitely we can count on. I would want to say that he's got the minerals to deliver a peach of a ball. I even want to say he's got some techie feet on him as well, my homie. However, Connor Ronan being linked with the move away to Aberdeen, a team in is it Scotland? Is it?
I think so, yeah.
Krash, how do you feel about Connor Ronan being linked with I think it's already I don't know if it's like official, but it seems to be gathering some momentum, and all signs look to be pointing like we may be getting rid of the midfielder.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. We saw that report again. It's nothing's confirmed. Just some leaks there on Twitter and in chatter that, between different, it really is from the supporters of Aberdeen. So we'll see how it turns out. It's interesting. Connor is a good player. He's played, stepped in and filled a role. He's not on a ton of money there. Maybe it's just their opportunity to get something out of him in that transfer. Or maybe he's trying to get back. He's trying to get back to closer to where his home is, right? So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes, and how that turns out. To me, it's a little odd and kind of interesting. We're losing another midfielder where we kind of went through a stretch where we had nobody in midfield. We were playing, Jackson Travis as a midfielder, and we were really struggling with injuries and availability. So, I wouldn't say that losing a midfielder is a good thing for us. So it'll be interesting to see if this is true and if it comes to fruition, and then also what are they going to do to fill that? Because obviously midfielders were a light spot for us. So interesting. It's definitely all the really the older generation of Rapids, who've been around a couple seasons, are really getting kind of purged. So it's interesting to see how this second half of the season is going to shake out.
Well, we did see huge clear out, if you will, during the summer last during before the season. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of the old guard be shipped out to make way for hopefully some newer talent, right? We would hate to get rid of a key position and not be able to fill those boots. Hopefully, just like we're hearing about the rumors of players going out, we got to hear some rumors of players coming in, Krash, as well, homie. But look, let's talk about today's episode. We're almost, we're about halfway through of the season, halfway through the first season with Matt Wells as our head coach. And, the Rapids right now, we entered the World Cup break, as we spoke about, in 11th place in the Western Conference. We're sitting with 16 points. We have 5 wins, 1 draw, and an ugly 9 losses, Krash. The only positive out of all of that is an Open Cup semifinal is on the horizon here at home at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. And Krash, I will ask you towards the end of the show. However, to the Rapid sickos that are listening to this, whether you're driving to work, at work, in the office, at home, doing the dishes, whatever it is you're doing, I want you to just scream out right now. If I asked you to grade Matt Wells right now, what grade are you giving him? All right, thank you for that, my homies and Krash. I'm gonna ask you towards the end of the pod, but we want to talk about some context. We want to talk about some pros, some cons. We got a couple of points to go through, and then towards at the end, we'll finally give our grades. How you feel about that, my homie?
Yep, sound good.
Yeah. All right, Krash, let's get into it. Let's give our opening arguments to the jury before we get any further, all right? Let's go for point number 1 for Matt Wells, right? And this is going to be the biggest positive, right? The Open Cup semifinal. Now, I know we've talked about this a lot, and we're going to keep talking about it because it is our biggest, I think right now, our biggest opportunity for a trophy. But Krash, how important is this Open Cup to the Rapids fans, considering how we're doing in our domestic form in the Premier League, in the MLS Cup?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, it really is. It's the one opportunity that we have right in front of us, right? The MLS, the Shield, the MLS Cup are really far away. We still have a second half of the season to even get remotely close. And really for us, the opportunities in front of us too for the Open Cup are pretty huge. We have this break right now for the World Cup. We have the transfer window going to be opening soon, and in the second half of the season, the next Open Cup game is not until September. And so for us, it's the one piece that's in front of us. That's 2 games, 2 wins from a cup, and we have an opportunity to build towards that, which I think is really, really exciting. The real question is, are we overhyping this because because we aren't doing well? I think this is something to be hyped about. I think this is something to be excited about. It's a trophy. It's an important trophy to win. Don't get me wrong, but the thing that I'm concerned of is like, are we looking at this like we did Leagues Cup a couple years ago, where we made it to 3rd place in the Leagues Cup, but the season was terrible, right? Are we going to have another situation where we made it work in the Open Cup, but our season's terrible, right? And so I think that's the thing that I'm worried about. And are we putting an over importance on this game or this tournament? Maybe. But I think my key is it's really important. We should be trying to win, right? I want to win this. This would be exciting to win. So yeah, we should be focusing on this, but we need to not only focus on this. We should be looking at, ensuring that we have a consistent team that can beat all the teams in the MLS, not just the Open Cup. Was it St. Louis and then potentially Columbus or Orlando? Is that who it is?
Well, no, Krash, and valid points, but I'm going to tell you, we need to focus on this tournament 100%. I honestly feel that our MLS Cup chances, bro, I'm just going to keep it real, Krash. If we limp into the playoffs, homie, how deep do you fancy us to go? Honestly, how deep do you fancy us to even go? Would you want to show up to the big dance just to trip over your 2 left feet? Or would you say, you know what? I went to prom. I got the prom date. I got the prom queen. That's cool. I don't need to go anywhere else. And you're happy with that, right? If that analogy made any sense, right? Like, you can get the prom queen, you know what I mean, and not have to be the homecoming the king. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you can pick either one, bro. So I think, look. 2 games, Krash, and we're lifting 2 games, and we're lifting a trophy, compared to, God, man, I hate to say this, but probably some more embarrassing performances on the road possibly some more embarrassing performances here at home. That dud that we put to Houston, I still haven't forgot about that, homie. That dud that we put up away to Houston was freaking embarrassing. Your game, the Toronto that you said, probably was one of our biggest letdowns. We're probably going to have another stinker like that, just based off of the evidence that we're getting from this team. And it seems to be that they're pretty much bought into the idea of 2 games and you're lifting a trophy. So look, I agree. Our bread and butter is probably and should be our MLS form, but that's going out the window if you ask me, homie. We're 2 games away from glory, and the game is about glory. So have at it and let's go get it, Krash.
Well, but I think it's a good point, though. No, and I do, and I think we should be focused on it. But I think the key of it, right, is that that next game is not until September. We go back.
You're fair.
Right?
You're fair.
Yeah. And so, we have a long time to prepare for this game coming up, right? So we have, and that's what I'm thinking is like, are we able to make adjustments to this team? Are we able to bring in new players, get them into the system to play the way that Matt Wells wants? And then are we able to be ready for that game in September going, okay, we have a full team. We're ready to go. They are 100% and we're going to win this. We won't know that, but we will have plenty of games between the end of July and September to be as our metric of are we the same team that was in the first half of the season, or are we a renewed team coming out of this break? And I think that's my biggest thing is, yes, we should focus on this game for sure, but it's not for a while. It's not the first game back. And so we're gonna need some positivity going into that September match, because if we're going into it bottom of the table into the U.S. Open Cup, it's going to be rough.
No, I'm now picking up what you're throwing down, my homie. It's going to be key and detrimental for us to use this break as a mini preseason, a mid-season preseason to get back into gear, hopefully find our shooting boots, hopefully find some good form, hopefully get some good results under our belt. And, so we reach that game in September. Hopefully with some rhythm, Krash. Hopefully with some rhythm, hopefully with some momentum, hopefully with some points under our belt, and hopefully not with some abysmal displays, my homie, which is going to be frustrating. So no, I definitely, I do agree with you there, homie. We have to definitely hit that tournament 100%. But even before we get there, we've got tons of football to play before September. So I do get what you're saying, homie. I was just looking ahead. I was just looking ahead, like you said. It's definitely not our next game. So there's plenty of football to be played from now until then. Speaking about plenty of football to be played, we played a ton of football in this last 2 months, Krash. Bringing up point number 2, for our case for Matt Wells. Point number 2 being, a fixture congestion from hell, Krash. Game after game after game after game, followed by 1 week of full training, back to game after game after game after game. Just seemed like it drug on forever, Krash. Since April, there was constant travel. Sprinkle in there the aforementioned Open Cup fixtures, the MLS fixtures, and of course, the biggest key out of all of that, homie, is limited training. Matt Wells admitted to the limited training. Matt Wells admitted to not being able to prepare for a full week against the team. Not like it helped. We just said we went the whole week training for Houston, and look how that ended up turning out. So it's not even like we got any help with that full week of training. However, back to the point, the fixture congestion, Krash, we've banged this drum all the time about it, you know what I mean? And it's just one of the glaring obviouses. And Matt Wells repeatedly mentioned the team, just not having full weeks of training. Krash, we've talked about this a little bit before, but let's bring it up, my homie. Refresh the listener. How much blame should the congestion get for the Rapids' struggles?
Um, it should carry a fair amount. But also I can't say it can carry all of it, right? We can't just blame it all on that. But I think when I look at it, we had, Kosi and Georgie coming in right in the middle of that fixture congestion. We had injuries that were happening because of, if not during fixture congestion. We had red card or yellow card accumulation and suspensions happen during fixture congestion. So if you look at that from a perspective of, are we able to get players back faster because, they have more time to heal? Are we putting too much load on players and they're starting to get hurt? I think the congestion had a fair amount of blame to this team. In general, they were tired, right? Yeah. Like, you can't expect the team to be nonstop over and over and over and over again and just keep performing at the top. And we started seeing some of that, especially on the away games where they didn't have anything in the tank, it seemed like. So, yeah, I think they bear it. And, some of that you can put on how Matt Wells managed it, maybe. But I think it was really, just at a certain point, it's too much. And I think we found our threshold for how we can kind of manage that. Matt Wells even talked about, he built this team and trained them and got them to the point where they could perform at that level. And he was happy with that. But I think it boiled down to maybe more mental, challenges than it was physical challenges to a degree outside of the injuries too. So yeah, it carries a fair amount of blame in my book.
Yeah. Let's move on to point number 3 for cases for Matt Wells, right? This has a lot to go hand in hand with the congestion. And what we're talking about is the lack of squad depth that Matt Wells has at his disposal. We talked a little bit earlier. Injuries. Connor Ronan hasn't been the most consistent at being available. Zack Steffen picking up injury. Players getting suspensions, straight red cards, yellow card accumulation, few injuries that we've had. Of course, you can't really predict for those. However, lack of squad depth has hindered our ability to perform to a higher standard compared to teams, like a Vancouver, like even a San Diego, a team like Seattle. Let's even throw an LAFC in there. Teams that have squad depth, you think players coming out tired, getting replaced with like for like quality, no big drop offs. We, the Rapids, we struggle with the drop off, right? We struggle for that like for like substitution where it comes to, sometimes there's a big drop off. How much, Krash? How do you feel about the lack of squad depth? How much is that to play? Right now we're just, like I said, we're trying to make points for Matt Wells, and the lack of squad depth is a huge, huge thing that is kind of going for him in terms of where we're at because we're at where we're at, Krash.
Oh yeah. No, and to be honest, I've said it from the first episode of this podcast. And, the lack of depth of this team is a limiting factor, right? At the very beginning of the season, we didn't know what Matt was going to do, how the team was going to respond, and how things were going to go. And I think he's, I guess the question is, has he been able to get the most out of this roster he can? I think he actually has. He's been able to get, some of these young players to play beyond anywhere I ever thought they were going to be able to play. he's been able to get, some of the best players to play extremely well. The problem that I see though is that, the injury, the score, the congestion, all those things, we're having to play our best players all the time. And there isn't much additional depth to pull from when we need it, when we need those dangerous players, when we need the 100% quality and respect on the field. We have a bunch of players that have moments of brilliance, or we have a bunch of players that are good at one thing or good at this or good at that, but aren't as fully well-rounded, or they're young and they have the quality and the ceiling. We're just not there yet. And so that's a hard dynamic to look at from a new coach, relatively new team, young team, and expecting them to always play at that top level. And then one person goes down, then you're hoping somebody else steps in to fill it. I think the depth is getting better, but I think we're seeing some key pieces missing that I think, I'm excited to kind of talk about this maybe in our next upcoming episodes, is kind of what that roster, what do we really need? But yeah, depth is challenging, and it's not that it's that high quality depth is what we're lacking. And losing somebody like Connor Ronan to the summer transfer window isn't what you really want to see, right? Lucas Harrington is in the World Cup. Like, there's a good chance he could go somewhere, right? We've got a center back coming in, but again, it's the high quality depth that we might be losing that we need to ensure that we retain or fill. So yeah, we need more.
Well, Krash, you answered this while you were talking, but to the listener, let us, again, if you're driving, if you're at home doing the chores, whatever it is you're doing, just answer out loud. Has Matt Wells gotten the maximum out of this roster? I agree with you, Krash. I think he has. I think he's maximized his stroke when he can. And to that, I'm going to bring in point number 4 for things that the argument for Matt Wells is, Krash, we've been beaten up. Our backs have been up against the rope. We've shown we're going to be we're going to lack discipline from time to time. Even our gaffer is picking up these cards. But the team hasn't quit, Krash. We've been beat up through games, and we've come out the next game and we tried to go down swinging, and sometimes we do go down swinging. Sometimes we win, sometimes we draw. But the team hasn't quit, Krash. Even during rough stretches, we were still able to pick up a boring, hard-fought draw in LA against LAFC. We managed to pick up some points, 3 points in Minnesota on the road. That massive victory against San Jose in the Open Cup. And we've shown that we will fight through some difficult circumstances. This team is still playing hard. And we see that through individual performances. Brilliant little sparks there from Paxton Aronson. Of course, we have our heavyweight who's definitely throwing haymakers for us left and right in Rafa Navarro, right? We have players like Connor Ronan who have not Connor Ronan, I'm sorry, Keegan Rosenberry, who have come in when called upon. We have players like Wayne Frederick who, are kind of like a phoenix rising from the ashes, if you will. A revelation this new season. We've had players come back from, the discipline. Josh Atencio now solidifying his spot there. And even through the head injury, this team is showing grit. They're showing determination, which is something Matt Wells said he wants his team to do. It's not going for us all the time, Krash. It's been going against us for the majority of the season. However, do you see a team that's quit? Do you see a team that's not bought in? Or do you see a team that, is fighting fighting to figure it out, is in for the long haul, if you will.
Yeah. No, and I would definitely agree. I think the Matt Wells system, the mentality, the dog that the team has, there's the foundation's there, and I think that is something you want. I think overall Matt has instilled a culture within the team that you want, and that's a very positive, a quick transition from what we had to what we have now. So I think that is really important, and definitely agree that this team has the right mentality. The key is going to be, can they keep that consistent even when things get challenging? Can they keep pushing forward? Can they keep finding that next level? And so that'll be the biggest thing. But yeah, at this point, I haven't seen the team give up. They're fighting to the end, even if it's kind of a lost cause to a degree. I haven't seen them give up on it.
Yeah. That Toronto game where we were down by a few players showed tons of heart. You know what I mean? Granted, we had individual errors, we had some dumb mistakes, some dumb disciplinary issues. Showed a lot of heart. That Inter Miami match here at Empowered Field, my oh my, the amount of heart and fight that we've seen from the team that paid off to the stands when that Darren Yappi and that Navarro goal went in.
Yeah.
Just like the players, just like the gaffer, I have a feeling that still, given the circumstances, the majority of us Rapids faithful, us Rapids sickos are still bought into the system as well, and can see the light at the end of the tunnel, if you will. So yeah, Krash, 4 points there that we kind of wanted to touch on and bring up to kind of go for the gaffer. And of course, what we do on this channel, I always got to get the positives, the negatives, the good and the bad. We have to go for the case against Matt Wells as well, my homie. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be easy to do. However, Matt Wells and the Rapids, you're not making it hard to do either, my homies. Let's go for the case against Matt Wells. And we're going to start off with point number 1, which for me is probably the biggest, the most glaring, the most obvious. 9 losses. That's freaking hectic, Krash. Already 9 losses. We sit 11th. This is unavoidable, my homie. No matter how you spin it, 5 wins, 9 losses, that just isn't good enough. Isn't good enough. Krash, go ahead, my homie.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you look at the table, you look at the losses that we've had, it's just not good enough. And, we can't expect to go into the second half of the season with the same kind of record for us to even remotely have a chance at the playoffs. So, yeah, and that's where I struggle. Like, I look at some of these games like, we played really well. The refs were terrible or whatever. There's 1,000 different ways to kind of look at the why, but there's still losses. And wait, how many draws do we have? One draw. Like, yeah, we either win or we lose. There's nothing. There's no other way around it. So I think that's the thing I think is interesting. And we're gonna have to fix that problem in the second half of the season. So yeah, 100%.
Well, and that 1 point is our draw against LAFC, where, let's be real, we had a pretty all right first half to that game. Granted, LAFC just sat back, homie. They parked that bus and said, whatever, tire yourselves out. Because in that second half, Krash, we were lucky to only concede the 1 goal and not lose that game by 2, 3, or 4. If I'm not mistaken, homie, LAFC had tons of opportunities that match. And so that easily could have been one of these games that could have went the other way. And we're probably talking about 10 losses instead of 6 wins. So let me ask you, Krash, and if we'll get your answer first. And of course, to the Confluites, the Confluence community, whoever's tuning in. My homie, if this wasn't an Open Cup year and we weren't sitting where we're sitting at with this tournament, would you be more harsher on Matt Wells?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the key of it is there's been good ups and good downs, but there's been more downs than there's been ups. And so it's hard to stay on that train without that. So
sorry, Krash, I had to cut you off. Korea just made it 1-1, my homies. It's currently 9:30 right now on this beautiful Thursday night. Like Krash mentioned earlier, we both have one eye on the pod and one eye on the tube. Czech Republic went up 1-0 after halftime. Don't know who scored the goal, but it is 1-1 Korea. Get in. You could tell we're happy over here. I'm going for Korea. I don't know about Krash. We might have a domestic, homie. Don't say who you're going for because I love you, Krash, and I don't want that to change.
no, I don't have it. No dog in that fight. I just want a good game for sure.
That's a straight footy sickle for you, my homies. That was a great answer right there, Krash. We could keep this podcast going, my homie. But no, Krash. I mean, I honestly think that I'm living proof of it. You know what I mean? The hype for this U.S. Open Cup and the fact that we've kind of made it to where we're at. For me, it's definitely papering over tons and tons of deep cracks. On the surface, you know what I mean? And I do think honestly, had we went out to even San Jose, but let me even bring it back. We had a hard time getting past Union Omaha. That was a tough matchup that we played against Union Omaha. We limped into the next round to face off that lot from down the road, the Switchbacks, who just about did us in our own freaking backyard, homie. How embarrassing would that have been for us to lose to them? Yeah. No disrespect to the Switchback fans, you know what I mean? No disrespect to the Switchbacks at all. I'm just saying, you're thinking about a second division team coming to your house with that chip on their shoulder, wanting to do you in that cup competition. They just about did us in that competition. And the only game that we comfortably whooped that ass was against San Jose, which, I mean, credit where credit is due. It's because of that performance that we're getting into the semifinal, but it's also because of that one performance, Krash, against San Jose that I'm riding high on this Rapids team, and I'm still fully 100% like on that happy-go-lucky train because I've been vocal about Matt Wells, homie. 2-3 podcasts ago, I started saying, Matt Wells, you're contradicting yourself, my homie. I'm starting to see some shit that I don't like. You know what I mean? And
yeah. Oh yeah.
It's because of that U.S. Open Cup run and the fact that we're very close to glory that I'm allowing it to paper over the cracks from my point of view. Nobody else is. So if this wasn't an Open Cup year and we weren't that close to it, I would have to say, taking all these things into consideration, you know what I mean? We're not looking the best football team, my homie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Point number 2 for the case against Matt Wells. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I present to you our defensive problems. Reoccurring issues. We're giving away penalties. Lazy passes leading to turnovers, lazy mentality leading to poor marking, some set piece struggles in there as well. Trash. How much of this point number 2 is due to the coaching, or is it due to we see individual errors every game, my homie? Yeah, I could think of Rob Holding making mistakes leading to wonder goals from outside the box. Mm-hmm. Howlers from Zack Steffen. Discipline from getting a red card from the bench, i.e. the little homie Wayne Frederick. Jackson Travis with lazy passes leading to goals. How much is it the coaching? How much is it the players' mistakes, Krash?
Um, honestly, I think it's more player mistakes than it is the coaching, right? The coaching is pretty straightforward. I think we know what the identity is. We know the type of um, defense we want to be. We know that we're playing out of the back, and we know that there's going to be challenges, right? And so I think that requires a team to be perfect a lot of the time.
Mm.
And we, like we mentioned about the depth and the quality, like we have good players in the team, but we don't have players that are perfect all the time. And we don't have players that are perfect, 75 to 80% of the time, right? And that's okay. A lot of them are young players. It's going to happen. But knowing where to pass and how to play that ball and where to put your body and all those little things at the speed and level that they're playing at against these teams is tough. You're going to get those mistakes. And I think that's the part that I can't blame on Matt, but also he created a system with a player pool and team that is required to play that. And so he can't take all of the weight off of them either. So, you've got to be able to adjust and change and shift according to who's in front of you and the players you have. So maybe there's, you got to put some of that blame on the coach for sure. So maybe they're going to get better. Maybe with the off season, we'll start seeing those adjustments. But yeah, it's a true thing. And the sad part about it is a lot of it is a lapse in judgment. It's not that they're not a good player, right? It's little mistakes. It's bad passes. It's lazy passes. We talked about it many times. So yeah, I think I'm putting this one on the players, to be honest.
Matt Wells, we're going to chalk that one up to a case for Matt Wells. I know it's a case against Matt Wells, but you get half a point in your corner there, Matt Wells. Appreciate that one. I agree, my homie. The coaching has to do with it as well. However, it gets translated onto the pitch, and it's the players, the ones that do the speaking and do the talking. And a lot of the times it's them, the glaring obvious is them that, are doing the lazy passing and the mistakes and stuff like that. So I agree, player mistakes. Point number 3 for the case against Matt Wells. And this may be the most interesting for me. Tactical questions from me, my homie. When the Colorado falls behind, right? When the Rapids fall behind, what's our plan B, Krash? When teams sit deep, what's our plan B, Krash? When Rafa Navarro is shut down, what's our plan B, Krash? Seems to me like we just have plan A. And once that goes out of the window, once we find adversary, once we find ourselves with our back against the wall, don't get me wrong. I said earlier, we will start swinging, but is it in vain? Do we really have a good idea of what we want to do when it all gets thrown out of the window, Krash?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's something that I struggle with too. It's we've seen a couple times where we have fought back, and I think our plan A, is a solid plan. I think we play well when we're playing our game and take it to teams and are playing at our best. But when we lapse and when we make those mistakes, I think, what is our reaction? How do we overcome that? Miami game was a good showing of that, being able to come back. So I think there's some positives there, and kind of the team that we want to be and that we could be. But the other side of it there is like, yeah, also what is plan B? What are we doing? Or maybe what is plan C in reality, right? Plan A, we know. Plan B is, play our, you know, play our hardest, like putting it all out there on the field, being perfect in those moments and coming up with those moments of brilliance. But the challenging thing is we don't have a ton of players that can create those amazing comeback chances. So plan B is hard to find. So we really need to find something else there to get us out of those holes. And yeah, I will put this on Matt Wells is what do we do when we are struggling to find that momentum when we're struggling to break down a team? Yeah, it's a good question.
It's been tough, Krash. It's been tough, and especially us that, ever since we started doing this podcast, and we've done numerous watch-alongs now, I've even like when I watch the Spurs games, I've kind of been able to digest the game a bit more. Honestly, thanks to how you've kind of helped me see the game a bit more, and I try to pay more attention to the patterns, the formations, the ball movement, off the ball movement, and that's something I picked up too, homie. Is it's just I hate to say it like this, but we just so one minded. We blow our load, and that's just about it. You know what I mean? It's like, damn, what do we do from there? And then we're just
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
sorry, this normally doesn't happen to me. It's like we're kind of just it's a shitty situation to be in, my homie. But
Sure.
no, look, at the end of the day, I guess with point number 3, the Rapids just more times than none, we just look so freaking predictable. And that's, I guess, the hardest part to digest on a game to game basis where, you would want to oh, let's go. Korea just made it 2-1. Oh, get it, my homies. But back to the pod. I mean, I feel like the Rapids were so freaking predictable. And to move on to point number 4, which could easily be one of the most important points that go against Matt Wells. Now, Krash and the homies from the community, I want to add a little bit of context to this point. We're simply talking about our MLS Cup fixtures here. I know we sprinkle in a little bit about the US Open Cup because that obviously adds context. But to this one, I want to stress our home form in the US Open Cup has been good. 3 games, 3 wins. That's kind of off to the side. What I want to discuss in this point is our home form. The Fallis Palace, Dick's Sporting Goods Park should be a fortress. However, in the MLS, Krash, too many points have been dropped. The Rapids have not taken advantage of the opportunities at home. We have not taken advantage of that altitude that we kind of talk about every once in a while here on the pod. They haven't taken advantage of the atmosphere that the South Bank brings, that all of the Rapids fans bring. You know what I mean? That last home game that we had, shoot, we packed that joint. You know what I mean? And they didn't take advantage of that atmosphere. I just don't know why they're not able to feed off of our energy, Krash, because us fans, we give it everything when we go, whether it's a full house, whether they're doing fireworks after the game, whether if it's the first game of the season, or whether we're doing a 30th anniversary game at Empowered Field that ain't even really our home. The Rapids fans, the Rapids faithful, the C38, the Mile High Locos, the Culeros, the homies in the 109, they show up every single game. Yeah. But the Rapids have not been able to take advantage of that, Krash. Our home form has been abysmal. And again, I want to add context, Krash. We're talking MLS form.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think, we had a good start to the season. And I think that was the key is that we did some really positive things at the start. Had a good, home form. And then we got the halfway through point where we kind of after that, that away, really the away, 3 or 4 away games that we had in a row, we kind of came back and the form just didn't quite live up to it. Right.
Oh.
And I think that's the thing is that we that's got to get fixed. We have to be able to use it at altitude to our advantage, having the home field advantage there. There's no reason we should be lacking. And I think that just points to that lack of quality we're missing at the final there.
Yeah. Well, my homies, there you have it. Those were 4 points for Matt Wells and 4 points against Matt Wells. Trying to keep it balanced here, Krash. Right? We at least want to shed light or give our thoughts as to why and why not. I know I do this to you every episode. I ask you the good, the bad, and so we want to continue with that. with that pattern here on the pod. Krash, given all the evidence, my homie, it's time to let the jury deliberate and come back. What do you think? Has Matt Wells been exposed? Is that harsh to ask? Is it too early to ask? Just given, and let me again present a couple of sides, right? From side A, bro, it seems like teams have figured the Rapids out. They press the midfield, they force turnovers, and they're trying to make us create in our possession, which is something we're having a hard time doing. We don't have that game changer in midfield yet. You know what I mean? Paxton Aronson's making his case for it. We have that killer up front in Hoffa, but sometimes the ball gets lost from the defensive line, doesn't really travel through the midfield, and we're kind of relying on those balls over the top, probably a little bit more than what we need to. But then again, Krash, to the flip side on side B, again, this is MLS form. This is first half of the season based off what we've seen, not necessarily what we will see and what we hope to see. But the Rapids have just been a freaking exhausted team, my homie. That's no secret. That is absolutely no secret. Most of our tactical flaws, become magnified when these players are tired, right? So I'm asking the chat, I'm asking the homies, I'm asking the Confluites, are teams figuring out Mount Wells, or are the Rapids simply just coming up a bit short in our efforts? Are we just kind of limping, stuttering and running out of gas? Krash, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, good points. And, I think at the end of the day, um, it's a bit of both. And I think that's for me is like we need an extra gear. We need an extra next level. We need something. We need that plan B, right? We need these things to really go to the type of team that I think we can be. And so really it's a bunch of those. But yeah, absolutely. It's the second half of the season is going to be a real key factor to figure out what this team really is, and the identity is just more than surface level.
Krash, let me ask you a question, homie. Let's say the World Cup ends. Let's say the transfer window ends. We don't bring anybody in except for Luis Remy, or what's his name? The Spanish dude.
Williams.
Yeah, Williams. I don't know why I said Remy. Yeah. Let's just say he's the only one that walks through the door. But let's just say nobody leaves. Nobody comes in. We keep our star defender Harrington. We may hold on to a Connor Ronan. In fact, by this point, he may be a bit more fit. We go through this little preseason, mid-season, preseason, and we hit the ground running for the second half of the season. Bro, just shooting from the hip. Do you see the Rapids continuing with the same form, or is there a world where maybe we get a bit more time together, kind of hash out some things in the training pitch, get Matt Wells' philosophy drilled into these players, and make a change and make something happen, and possibly make a run towards the end of the season? Or do you just see a lot of the same shit that's going to be happening if we don't make any changes, either incoming or outgoing?
I think, we'll definitely need changes. I think that's the thing is there needs to be more quality on this team. That's just a hands down. If we didn't, does this break allow us more time to gel, more time to understand the system, to maybe find that next level with Matt and what he's expecting? Yes. And does it allow us to get fit? Yes. I think there's a bunch of those things that we can look towards. And I could see a world where even this team is able to make a playoff run and, get into that window, because we are a good enough team to be there. We just haven't been playing that well. And so I think it's possible for sure. I think it's just, we could use some help, and some additional quality on the team is going to be there.
No, I agree, my homie. I agree. I hope to see. Me personally, I mean, if it was to end, if we were to start, let's just say we're dipping into the future, and this Saturday is our first game back after the break. I just I'm led to believe we would see a lot of the same inconsistencies. Granted, I don't know what our schedule looks like, so I can't say we're going to be as an exhausted team. You know, maybe that fixture congestion was because of the upcoming break that we're into now. So they had to find a way to squeeze all those games in. And now after this break, we may have a more manageable schedule, which kind of gives me the idea maybe in a couple of weeks time we can probably take a look ahead and see where we think we can possibly finish at. What our I haven't even looked at the schedule, Crash. So maybe in a couple of weeks time we could visit the schedule and think of, okay, what are we looking at? Maybe by then we will have some signings in and some outgoings out.
Mhm.
My homies, you filthy animals, we're getting down to the nitty gritty. At the beginning of the show, I asked you to spit out a grade for Matt Wells. I said I would get Crashes and myself at the end of the stream. Crash, it's time for the final verdict, my homie. You heard the case for, you heard the case for against. We got some little nuggets in there. We even added a little bit on top. Let's get into some of these grades, my homie. Crash, if I was to get grades from you for Matt Wells and his coaching, what would you give it from? We'll just go standard A to B, from A to F. Is that what it is? F being what would be a 0 and A being a 5. What are you going to go with the coaching aspect of the Colorado Rapids right now?
I'll give the coaching a B. I think Matt Wells, his coaching staff have done a really good job getting these players to the level that they understand what he's trying to do. This is what his vision is, his identity, the culture. I think they've done a good job getting them there. So there's a piece of that they can't control of the results. But I think what they have, I'll give them a B. I would give them an A if the discipline was higher.
It trickles down. Matt Wells hasn't been the best either at keeping keeping himself a bit disciplined, my homie. Not just only a little, but the rest of the bench.
Yeah, that's my only complaint in with the way that they coach is some of that, and everything else I've been pretty positive on.
Okay. Well, I just want to inform the homies, the Confluites, that in no way, shape, or form have Krash and I been in cahoots asking each other. This is the first time I'm hearing his grades. I also went with a B for coaching as well. And I think we're both going to be on the same one for this next one. However, I could be wrong. Krash, if you had to grade the Colorado Rapids in the U.S. Open Cup so far, what would you give them?
I'm gonna give them a B minus.
Okay.
And it's not because of the San Jose game. It's because of the two other games. The Switchbacks and Union Omaha game, they won, but boy was I worried the entire time. And so I think, I would have given them an A grade if those games were better. Or were played in a way I wasn't stressed beyond belief and going to extra minutes and those kinds of things. So that I'm giving them a B minus on that, even though I'm very positive on the fact that where we are.
Okay. Crash went with a B minus. I went with an A. Now hear me out. I'm always going to be flying high on this cup until hopefully not, but in case the inevitable does happen. Crash, those are good points, my homie. I see those points. However, I'm going to add to the fact that we got it done, even in those tough situations. When we've been faced with those type of situations in our MLS form, just look how they've went. They've went the other way. You know what I mean? But so for some reason, we've been able to grind out those results. I didn't go much higher. I went with an A. I mean, now that we're talking about it, I'm going to drop it to an A minus, but still qualifies as an A. So I went with an A for that one there. My homies, if you're driving along, listening to this, however, What are you guys grading the coaching? What are you grading the Open Cup? Krash, what are you grading the MLS? Colorado Rapids in the MLS.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a C minus on that. And that's just because we've had ups and downs. We've had more downs than ups. We played good teams well, and we played bad teams poorly, right? So for me, it's too inconsistent for me to even give a real positive grade. So yeah, we're passing, but we're not far passing.
Mm. Well, my homies, I'm going with my favorite science grade. I think it was my average through high school, a D plus. Going for a D plus, my homies. We have just been shite, and I'm not even going to sugarcoat it, my homies. I do not think that we've shown much. We've shown tons of heart, which I guess is why we're not at an F. However, I would have thought this point in the season we would have been higher up on the table. We would have seen a much more dominant display from the Colorado Rapids. I know I'm probably being harsh with the D plus, but I mean that's just me going with what the heart's telling me, my homies. I don't think we've I feel like we've sold ourselves short a lot of times. Krash just nailed it. We play up to our competition, and we definitely play down to our competition. And that's what sucks. You know what I mean? When we've needed to pull out the result, we just don't. When you think we're going to pull out the result, we just don't. And the fact that we only have one draw for me is a tall tale sign, right? We're either hot or we're cold, and we've been a lot more colder than we have been hot. So I'm going for a D plus, which for me, I think is fair. Krash, you went with an A, and a B. Let's go ahead and get that. Why did I do that wrong?
A B
A B
minus, and a C minus. So I think my average is right around a C plus.
Yeah, you had a C plus. I'm at a C plus as well, my homies. I went for an overall 2 of a C plus. Krash, C plus for Colorado plus, my homie. How do you feel about the grade? What do you think of the grading system? What do you think of the grade? Just what are your overall thoughts on our C?
C plus matches, right? You know, inconsistent. We have some upside. We see some potential. We're just not living up to it, right? It's like in high school, your teacher says, you know what, you have so much potential, and you're doing mediocre, right? And I think that's that's our team right now.
Yeah. Shitty thing I say it tongue in cheek. It is a shitty thing to say, but let's be real, my homie. We are fans of the Colorado Rapids. We hold our team to a higher value. You know what I mean? We expect our team to perform. Both of us season ticket members. You know what I mean? We somehow, shape, or form, we're invested into this club as well. We run this podcast, so it's not like, we're just the everyday casual, like we see it a little bit more. And to give them a C sucks. You know what I mean? You would want to be in that B, maybe A minus area. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. Those are the displays that we're basing them off of. Yeah. That was our points for or against Matt Wells. Let us know wherever you're watching this if you agree with it. Were we a bit too harsh? Were we a bit too easy? Are we letting Matt Wells off the hook? Am I letting Matt Wells off of the hook because I'm a Tottenham guy and he's a Tottenham guy as well? Let us know, my homies. I'm trying to be as completely unbiased as I can, and I think really Matt Wells is not making it too difficult for me to keep that point of view, my homie. Krash, how you feeling, my homie, about this pod? Anything that maybe we didn't address that you wanted to address? Anything going on over there for you that you wanted to plug? Anything special happening? Anything?
Nothing crazy going on here. I will be here in a couple weeks. Head up to Seattle to see a World Cup game, so that'll be exciting. But no, I think at the end of the day, just everybody enjoy the games on every day that we've got coming up, which is going to be fun and exciting. It's not every day we get watch these games, see these games, and so I'm excited. We got U.S. playing tomorrow, which will be I'm hoping that they show up and play a solid game and keep making it exciting to watch throughout the rest of this World Cup. But yeah, I got nothing really crazy going on, but that's about it for me.
Yeah, nah, homie. I know I said this I think at the last pod. I'm definitely rooting for the England boys to pull it out. I'm a huge fan of the Three Lions. Bro, I have a sneaky suspicion. I got a little cheeky feeling. Watch out for the Netherlands. Watch out for the Netherlands, my homies. Enjoy the football. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Again, Krash, how we started the episode, I want to reiterate. You're not alone, my homies. Reach out. If you don't reach out to the Confluence homies, reach out to somebody, but you're not alone. There's always somebody at the end of a phone for you, always someone at the end of a text message. You just have to send it. You have to put your part as well. Any final thoughts, Krash?
Nope, that's it, man. Thank you.
My homie, cue up that outro music, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Up the pits.
Yeah. My heart, C38, Lil Coys and KTK. Locals on the fly causing turbulence, causing waves on our way to the confluence. New voice for the fans, from the pitch to the stands. Mile high, locals in the South Bank lads. Leo Coys and the whole need Krash. Hold up, what's this? A raft on the water to the confluence. Yeah, it's trance, unbind to rhymes and laughter. Head to the waters if it's piss you're after. C38, the time is now. Locals on the drums to hold it down. Like the stream and 2 5 stars. The mile high hot spur and crash the car. Yeah.